Hey everyone, factoring into today's video, we're doing the third Winter 14-15 roundup video today. We're going to get various things together, see how things have progressed since the last time I did this a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to look at sea surface temperature anomalies, what's happening with solar activity, how snow cover is building up across the Siberian plain, and what happened with the Arctic melt season as well. Various things I think are important as we go through the autumn and building up towards the winter of 2014-2015, and the GasWeather's forecast for the winter of 2014-2015 will be released at the end of November or the start of December, so I haven't quite penciled in the exact date for what's going to happen with that, but it'll be late November or the very start of December when we do it. So before I get on with the update, I just want to talk about the ads. There's links to articles on my pages at gasweathers.com. If you have a browse through those links, you'll be able to see if there's anything that you're interested in. If there is an article that you're interested in, just click through the link. You'll be able to go off and read the article. And at the same time, GasWeathers will get a royalty fee on what you're doing. Thanks so much for doing that. Also, to say about the green keyword ads, there are green keywords on some of my pages at gasweathers.com. If you right cursor over green keyword, they'll display ads, but if you click through the word, you'll go to the advertiser's website, and at the same time you'll be able to support gasweathers.com. These things basically are paying for the website, so thanks very much for getting involved, and thanks for doing that. And just say it's going to be quite a longish sort of video, so if you can't watch it all in one sitting, don't worry. The video will be kept around here indefinitely at gasweathers.com, so you'll be able to come back and watch it whenever you want. Thanks very much for watching the video. Hope you enjoy it, and hope you find it interesting. So I'm going to start off with the sea surface temperature anomalies for the globe. Specifically, we're interested in the Pacific and the Atlantic, and we're particularly interested in what's going on in the equatorial Pacific in terms of ENSO. We're looking for warm water to be developing, warm anomalies to be developing across the equatorial Pacific from Peru going out to Indonesia in that area just there. Now, we have got some warming along the equatorial Pacific, but it isn't an El Nino yet. And to be honest, if we have a look at the last anomaly from when I did the video a couple of weeks ago, you'll see that there's actually been very little development really across the equatorial Pacific. Very little in the way of warming. That was the situation the last time I did the update, the second update. This is the situation now. Yeah, we have had a little bit of warming, particularly just there, particularly over here, but still nothing definitive really showing up there in terms of the El Nino getting itself together. It's getting very late on. I'm getting a bit worried about this. I want to see this coming on in October and really bedding in. It's such a slow thing to get this El Nino going. It's going to be a weak El Nino, whatever happens. We want it to be centrally based for a cold winter, Modoki or Modiki, whatever you want to call it, El Nino, central based in the equatorial Pacific. Is it going to happen? The models are still saying yes, but we're just not really seeing the evidence for it. Again, there we are on the 18th when I did the video a couple of weeks ago. There we are now, and has anything really happened? I'm not sure. Now, going up towards the northern part of the Pacific, off the coast of northwestern America and Canada and around Alaska, still very warm up there, although there has been a little bit of cooling compared to last time. This was a couple of weeks ago, very deep orange colours up there last time. Now, it's moderated a little bit, but it's still very warm in that area, and I think we're going to keep warm anomalies up there through the course of the autumn and into winter. Remember, when it's warm up here, it's helping to promote a ridge somewhere around there, and when you've got a ridge there, you tend to get a trough setting up over the eastern side of the states just there. I can't actually show you how it sets up over the states with this colour black, so you won't be able to see the highlights, but basically the ridge is up there, the trough is down there, and the jet stream is going diagonal across the United States, something like that. And of course, that means that northwest parts of America get quite a warm winter, but in the east and the northeast it's quite cold. And that cold there then spills out into the Atlantic. Happened last year anyway, spilled out into the Atlantic and developed explosive cyclogenesis in the Atlantic off Newfoundland, and that powered up the jet stream and brought those areas of low pressure in. Now, it doesn't have to be the case that that's how things pan out. It's very much dependent where the jet stream is and how much northern blocking we set up over Greenland, and for that we've really got to be looking at the Atlantic. So let's go back to a couple of weeks ago and see what's happening in the Atlantic. And we've got this cold anomaly in the central part of the Atlantic, otherwise quite warm. Going back to now, that cold anomaly has moderated. It's still there in the central Atlantic, but it's moderated compared to what it was a couple of weeks ago. Otherwise quite warm. For most of the Atlantic, it's the warm phase of the warm Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, so you would expect to be quite warm, particularly warm here around British Isles and Spain, Portugal, but of course these are shallow waters, so they do respond very, very quickly to weather, the temperature going up and down. So all it would take would be a cold month. We saw it in August, but the temperatures very quickly cooled off through August when we had that colder month. They've come up again, the temperature anomalies through September. It's been a very warm month, so they go up and down and fluctuate in these shallow waters with the changing weather patterns. It's really in the deep waters in the central part of the Atlantic Ocean that we're interested in. And as I say, we've not got a tripole here. We're looking for a cold, warm and cold band, of course, to have a tripole. We've not got it. We're not all that far away from it, probably, but it isn't a tripole, so we're not sort of edging towards a negative North Atlantic oscillation yet with these sea surface temperature anomalies. So if anything, the Atlantic is sort of favouring perhaps a positive NAO as we head towards winter, which of course means low pressure around Iceland, high pressure around the Azores that are strong westerly. But in the Pacific, well, we're just going to wait and see whether this El Nino ever gets going. This is where we actually come out in terms of the SOI for September, Southern Oscillation Index. Remember, I've explained this before, but when the Southern Oscillation Index is negative, we're talking about the atmosphere of the oceans hooking up to El Nino. When the Southern Oscillation is positive, we're sort of going towards La Nina type territory, cold water across the Equatorial Pacific. Now, we did go quite negative with the SOI in August. We went down to minus 11.4. In terms of September, though, we have come in negative again, but not as negative as we was in August, minus 7.5. Now, you will, if you want an El Nino, you will want really to be seeing these numbers getting more negative as we're going along. However, if we have a look at 2009, which is the last time we had a proper El Nino, 2009-2010, you'll see that in August we were negative at minus 5, but then in September we actually went positive to plus 3.9. So sort of September we fought against the El Nino a little bit in terms of Southern Oscillation Index. And then in October we went very negative, minus 14.7, and that allowed the El Nino to bed in. And then the rest of the year, minus 6.7, minus 7.0, and then on inside of 2010, minus 10.1, minus 40.5, and so on, and the El Nino really got going. So what we're looking for in October, I think, really is another negative number, and probably more negative than September. If we want to get this El Nino going, we've really got to see the Southern Oscillation Index coming into line with the oceans and sort of telling us that the ocean and the atmosphere are hooking up. Now, I've only got a couple of days for October so far in terms of the SOI. Not great. Minus on the 1st of October we come out minus 6.9, 2nd of October minus 4, and the 3rd of October, I'm doing video on the 3rd of October, but 3rd of October comes out at just 0.84, minus 0.84. Now, we want to see these numbers getting more negative as we're going through October if we want to get this El Nino really going. So we're coming up to a crucial time with this, I think. If we don't see the SOI really going into negative territory through September, through October and November, I'm doubtful whether this El Nino is really going to do much. So let's just see how the SOI goes through September, but I'm getting my doubts about it because it's so slow getting this going. The CFS V2 is still going for it. It's still seeing it. Only a week only a weak El Nino, but it is going for it. It's going into the El Nino threshold here. This is the forecast taking us into the into next year, and we see we're firmly into positive territory. Not a strong El Nino. For a strong El Nino, we'd need to be up here somewhere. We're not. We're down here, so we're only sort of going into very weak El Nino territory, but it does go for an El Nino in terms of the CFS V2 model. Interestingly, it's also seeing that El Nino continuing, albeit very weakly, through most, or slightly through into the middle of 2014, and that 2015 I should say, that does have some implications actually, or it could have some implications for the summer of 2015. And if you want to know what those implications could be, come back to the blog this evening. I'll be doing a blog post about that on the flash page. But getting back to winter anyway, the CFS V2 still going for this sort of idea that you're going to have a weak El Nino through the course of the winter. This is January just here, and we are into weak El Nino territory. Now, to get an El Nino designated, we've got to have the central part of the Equatorial Pacific, region 3.4, going positive for 5 tri-monthly periods. And I thought I'd just throw this in just so you could see what I mean by that. This is the chart from NOAA, NOAA, cold and warm episodes by season. Very useful chart this is. This goes back to 1950. These are the tri-monthly periods just here. We've got December, January, February, January, February, March, April, and so on through the course of the year. So they're the tri-monthly periods, 3 monthly periods over the course of the year. These are the anomalies just here. So when we're blue, we're in La Nina. When we're red, we're in El Nino. We've got to be 0.5 degrees above average or more to get an El Nino designated over 5 of these tri-monthly periods. So, for instance, this is 51, 52 just here, and it's a very weak El Nino, that one, but it did go over 5 tri-monthly periods. It reached the threshold, 0.6 there, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.1, 0.9 above average. So, yeah, definitely an El Nino. That one, La Nina, well, very long La Nina here, going out from 1954 all the way to the end of 1956, every month coming out negative from that period, a very prolonged La Nina, that one. Never all that desperately strong, although it did get quite strong there around 1955, 1956. But yeah, it's a long one, that particular La Nina. Now, coming down to where we are right now, we're down here. This is 2014. Still no sign of the El Nino here. We want to see positive red numbers appearing in these boxes to get the El Nino designated. The last one that we did have, the last El Nino, as I said, was 2009, 2010, which is probably just here, or it is definitely just here. The thing with that, it was quite a strong one actually. It's a very late starter, but it was quite a strong when it got going. I'm not sure we're ever going to get anywhere near that strong with this El Nino. We're looking at something far weaker, so maybe 2006, 2007 could be one that is in line in terms of analogues that we see here. That was very weak El Nino, only just really got to the threshold of an El Nino, and it was quite short as well. So that's how it works out anyway, in terms of the 5 tri-monthly periods. I just want to throw that one in case you didn't really understand what I've been talking about with the 5 tri-monthly periods being 0.5 of a degree or more above average. That's what I'm talking about. In terms of the 1950s, because we are in line with the 1950s really, in terms of the Atlantic sector being in the warm AMO, the Pacific being in the cold PDO, although the PDO is actually quite warm at the moment, but that could soon go cold, I think, as we go through towards the end of the year. But that was sort of a setup in the 50s. Cold PDO, warm AMO. And in terms of that, this El Nino is perhaps in line with 1958, 1959 to some degree. This one just here and going through here. That's a very, very weak El Nino. Only just really got designated as an El Nino. Only just reached be required fresh air, and that could be what we're looking at with this El Nino if it does get going. So it's going to be very interesting how that one develops through the course of the next week or two. I think October is going to be quite pivotal to whether this El Nino ever really gets going. Now, this is the solar disk on our side of disk today from the website solarham.net, and we can see that we have got some sunspots here across the solar disk. Actually, solar activity today is officially designated as moderate, so it's one of those days where we're ticking up again a little bit in terms of the activity. We are coming down in terms of the solar cycles now. We reached the second maximum of solar cycle 24 in the start of the year, January and February. We've come down. We're still getting these little peaks, so in the solar cycle. I think that's what we're going to be looking at into this winter as well, whilst the trend will probably be to lower the activity through the sun, through the remainder of the year and into the winter. I think we're still going to get these little peaks coming along, so I think we're going to be looking at moderate sort of activity probably for the solar cycles, for the coming winter. And of course, when we get into solar minimum, then we start talking about a very weak solar activity, and we'll be able to start talking more in terms of setting up northern blocking. But we're not in a great part of the solar cycle just at the moment. Atlantic hurricane season, not a lot happened really from the last update. We've had 5 total storms, we've had 4 hurricanes and just 1 major hurricane. It's a little bit more active this season than last season, but it's nothing to write home about. And the idea behind hurricanes is that you're taking warmth out of the tropics and dumping that warmth up in the Arctic. That feeds back later on into the form of blocking. So with that, we're not really getting many hurricanes for this season. Probably goes a little bit against the chance of northern blocking. Cubio is firmly going into the easterly phase, so this does sort of go into the chance of increasing the risk of a colder winter. When you're in the easterly phase of the Cubio, you're basically weakening off the zonal westerlies. I've explained this in other videos though, that these white periods when we're in the easterly Cubio, as we will be this winter, by no means guarantees that you're going to get a cold winter. For instance, we've got 2007-2008 here was an easterly Cubio, but we had a mild winter that winter, so it by no means guarantees anything. I'm going to probably look at that in a little bit more in depth in November. I want to have a look at that and sort of have a look at some El Nino years as well, so we'll be coming back to that one in November. But we're going to be in an easterly Cubio. It will increase our chance of a cold winter. By no means is it a guarantee. This is the latest from NOAA in terms of Arctic sea ice extent and snow cover across Eurasia. Let's deal with snow cover first. Well, we've got plenty of snow here across the eastern part of Siberia, building up very, very nicely. Once again, this is very similar to what happened last year. You remember last year we did build up the snow cover here on the eastern and central part of Siberia. Covered that all very quickly. That, I think, helped to promote the Siberian high and push it sort of that way over in towards Canada. What we want to see to get a cold winter and lots of blocking for Europe is we want to see the snow cover very rapidly through October, extending that way and getting into the western part of Russia. We didn't do it last year. We built it up very nicely over the eastern part of Siberia. We didn't push it westwards. Now, this was the situation last time when I did a video in terms of that snow cover. You'll see that we have built snow cover up very, very nicely in the past couple of weeks, so that is gratifying to see if you want a cold winter. But as I say, we want to spread it that way very quickly. This was a situation this time last year on the 3rd of October 2013, and you'll notice that we had more snow cover actually this time last year compared to this year. It was all over in the central and eastern part though, and this area here, which is quite far west actually, didn't really come to anything. So a lot of this in the southern part of Siberia actually melted, and it was mainly this eastern side that we built up that snow cover last year. But we're not as good as last year, but we're very similar actually. There we are right now. Here we are last year. We're very similar on this eastern part of Siberia. 2002 was another year where we had a little bit more, actually, over on the eastern side of Siberia. Again, that was another very cold winter for the United States. And again, it's this idea that we built up the snow cover very quickly over here, allowed the Siberian high to push that way down into Canada. We didn't build the snow cover up anywhere near as quickly in the central and eastern part of Siberia and into western Russia. And of course, by not doing that, the Siberian high sort of got stuck in this part and went that way. Now, in terms of the Arctic sea ice extent, finally, we are on the up now with the Arctic sea ice. Actually, I'll just go back and show you the view of the Arctic sea ice. It's this yellow area just here. That's how much we've lost, where the blue area is. If we go and have a look at the graph, you'll see that we're in the pack really with few years. Last year, 2013, we're very much on a par with 2013, which is red line just here. This year, by the way, is the black line. So we're in the pack. We're within 2013, 2009, 2010. We haven't had as good a year as 2006, 2006. That's the last decent year in terms of Arctic sea ice amount. But we've not been in a death spiral year either. These years down here, 2012, 2007, 2011, and so on. We aren't down with the worst years. We aren't as good as 2006. We're somewhere in the pack with 2013 and 2009, 2010. Now, the idea behind that is that when you lose a lot of ice over the Arctic, it can feed back later on to blocking. So again, this perhaps negates a little bit from the chance of blocking, but never mind that. The main thing is that we haven't had a death spiral this year. We've done okay, haven't done great by any means. We're not here with 2006 or above it, so we haven't done great this year with the Arctic sea ice loss, but it hasn't been a disaster. So whatever the winter turns out as, I think that is pretty good news, whatever your view is, that the Arctic is fairly robust this year. The Arctic sea ice has been fairly robust. Not great, but certainly not a death spiral year like 2007 or 2012. Now, I've gone on a long time, and what does it all mean? Well, things are progressing in terms of the Siberian snow cover. Where the snow is building up is, again, good news, I think, for the United States and Canada. Will we spread that snow across the Siberian plain and push it into western parts of Russia through October? That's going to be critical to see whether we can do that. So we're coming up to a critical period, I think, over the next couple of weeks. Next update will be very crucial on that one. Also, I think we are coming up to a critical period in terms of the El Nino. I want to see the Southern Oscillation going more negative through October. I want to see some warmer anomalies appearing across the central part of the equatorial Pacific, because I'm getting doubts about this El Nino now. So we are at a critical juncture, and the next update in a couple of weeks is going to be pretty crucial, I think, for how things are panning out through the course of the autumn as we're heading up into the winter. That's it for now. Hope you found the video interesting and informative. We're reaching a critical point. Come back in a couple of weeks. That's all for now. It's a CFS 6 month look ahead next week. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.